Today we're going to be doing lower and upper ball joints on my 96 Chevy C1500 Silverado edition. This is a 5.0 V8, which means it has a 305. The first thing that you're going to need to do is get a jack your truck up on the frame, support it by a jack stand, take your wheel off, and then you're pretty much caught up to where I'm at. Next thing I did was I went ahead and sprayed this bolt. This is the back side of the bolt for the lower ball joint. I went ahead and sprayed the crap out of it with WD-40. Mine's pretty rusted in there. I can barely even get to that pin. So that's the next step, is to get this pin out, bang it out however I got to, pull it out. My last one on the other side actually just cracked off when I started unscrewing the bolt, the nut from the bolt. So we'll just see how things go. I'm going to try a little bit longer with this pin. If I can't get it, I'm just going to try and snap it off. The new lower ball joint comes with a new pin, so I'm not concerned about conserving it at all. Alright guys, so I finally got that pin out of the nut on the lower ball joint bolt. It took me a long time. I had a battle with it. I had to use a flathead screwdriver and a mallet and bang it and break it into a million pieces, so that was fun. Now this nut, I've already had it sprayed with WD-40 as you saw earlier in the video. Now I'm going to try and get it off. I'm going to use a breaker bar because it gives me more leverage. This is a 1 1/16 inch socket. Ideally you'd like to have a 6-point, but this is 12. It worked just fine on the other side, so I'm going to use it again here. The other good thing about using a breaker bar, if you have one, is that you can pound on it with a mallet or something else heavy if you can't break the nut free on your own. Typically this is a hard nut to get off of first try just because it's rusted, especially this older vehicle. This is probably the first time these ball joints have ever been replaced. So with a ratchet, you don't want to bang on it with anything. You could accidentally ruin the gears inside of it. You know, that clicking sound that you hear in a ratchet, you'll strip all those gears out of there. So use a breaker bar. That would be my recommendation. Alright, so I finally got this nut loosened. I was using the breaker bar. I had to use my feet to push on it. You're welcome to do that if you need to do that as well. Now that I have it loosened a little bit, instead of using a breaker bar, I'm going to go ahead and put on the ratchet so that way I can make the process go a lot faster. Fingers. Got this castle nut off. Alright, next thing that you want to do is pound this a little bit with a mallet, or you can use a crowbar, which is what I'm going to use to pry up in between the bushings and the control arm. A couple things I forgot to mention was you're going to need to take this brake caliper off, and how you do that is there's 2 nuts, and you're going to need a 3/8 Allen wrench drive. You can attach it to a socket, or you can just use the regular Allen wrench, but it's a 3/8 for this vehicle. There's 2 bolts located in the back of the caliper. They're protected by this rubber bushing. So there's one there and there's one here. I've already taken the bottom one out. You want to keep these really, really clean. This is going to go directly into your brake, so you don't want any type of grime, or you don't want any type of grime or anything in the threads. When you go to put them back on, you want to use some all-purpose lubricant or grease. So keep those in a safe, clean spot. So like I said, I've already got those out. After you take these out, you're going to need to hang this with a coat wire, and you can, or anything else. You just do not want to hang this by the brake line, which is this right here. This is the ABS, but this is the brake line. You do not want to hang it by that. So once you take it off, I'm going to probably hang mine from this hole. This is a perfect hole. You could also hang it from up here, or even off the control arm, but the best place to hang it is right there on that hole in the frame. So I'm going to take a coat wire. Like this one, there's a screw on the end of this one which fits perfectly into there. I'm going to take mine off and attach it to that. And this is pretty easy to take off. It literally just slides off after you have those bolts out. So, just like that. And I'm going to run the coat hanger through the center of that and hang it. Another thing that I went ahead and did, which will make your life a whole lot easier, is I went ahead and cranked the truck on and turned the wheel all the way to the left. That way we can access this area a lot better. Okay, so the next step is to try and get the knuckle, or also known as the spindle, separated from the ball joint. As what it's compressed into is the control arm here. So you want to use ideally a pickle fork. It's a kind of pronged like this. You put it on either side underneath of the knuckle or the spindle, and you pry down on it. What we had to improvise using is just a crowbar, as well as we used this big ice hammer, or I'm sure there's another word for it, but we finally were able to pry it loose against the control arm and the spindle. That's what you want to pry against, those two things, and you'll eventually get it. I sprayed a bunch of WD-40 down in there as well. You'll know when it pops. You'll feel it come out. It looks like it is still in there, obviously, but the tension is out from the spindle. What I'm going to do is take it completely off of the ball joint on the bottom and lift it and move it to the side, so that way we can access the lower ball joint to use this C-clamp ball joint press. So we lowered the jack stand underneath the control arm, like almost all the way, so that way we could pull this spindle off of the ball joint. And you can see it's loose. What I'm using to get it out is this crowbar. I stuck it in there all the way across. I'm just going to yank up on it. So after you get the control arm off, you want to put it onto a jack stand to get it out of the way, because it won't just stay out of the way. Then you're going to use this ball joint press.
This will push down on the stud, and this is bigger than the ball joint, and the ball joint will go down inside of it.
Make sure you put WD-40 all down in that groove where the ball joint goes into the control arm.
The control arm, the upper one is in the way. Can you go up?
Once you have the C-clamp or ball joint press on there, this one specifically is a 7/8 inch drive. You have to do it with like an open-end wrench, and then when you get it high enough off the ground, you can fit a socket on there. And you want to just keep tightening it until you hear a pop, and then that's when you know that the ball joint is out. After you get the ball joint out, you want to clean this area really well. You can use that file again right here. Clean it all up. I had a ton of dirt in here. Just wipe it all out. Hey y'all, as I was editing this video, I did realize that I totally forgot to record us pressing the new ball joint in. As far as how to do that, it's basically just a reverse process of pressing the old one out. You use different sizes and different tools from that ball joint press kit, and I'm sure there's plenty of videos out there on how to use that. It was really just a matter of trial and error for us. As far as this pickle fork set, this price is just based off of buying the kit. It doesn't actually give you a price for renting. Most of the time it's the same price, but you would get your money back. Once again, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. Any questions, feel free to comment below. I'll do my best to answer them.